Wow, we got through a lot in that one. We don't really have that much left. Go us. Yeah, woohoo! Let's talk about risk, baby. Let's talk about risk analysis. And after all this, you should be able to talk about it. Risk analysis. Yes, that's right. I just said that. It's been one of those days. Okay, so what is risk analysis? Let's talk about it. So risk assessment is how we can estimate what the potential harm is, especially in terms of like environmental hazards. So risk assessment, what we do is we go in, we try to identify what that hazard is, say DDT. We characterize how toxic it is, we know it's bad, and then we determine how much area or how much of the environment has been exposed. Then you accept that. You're like, oh, dang, this is bad. And what you do, though, is you have to determine what do you consider to be an acceptable amount of that risk. Do you accept the fact that, oh, hey, half the fish in this pond are going to die because they were exposed to DDT? Right? Is that what you're willing to say is acceptable or not? And then management. Management is whenever we take important things like laws and policies and interest groups, industry protocols, all of these different things, and we try to stay within that risk acceptance. So this is kind of a cool slide. You are more likely to die in a firearm assault than you are in an airplane accident. I would say, yeah, absolutely. You are more likely to die being hit by a car as a pedestrian than you are to die of a bee, hornet, or wasp sting, right? Your likelihood of dying by being struck by lightning, that is definitely low. But you know what you should worry about? You should worry about respiratory diseases, heart diseases, and cancer. I will say this. Everything's very specific. Pedestrian accident. Then over here, let's just lump heart disease and cancer together because they're both big ones. Makes it look even bigger. All right. So next time you get on a plane, if you're scared to fly, think about this slide. You're good. You're going to be fine. All right. Now, qualitative risk assessment. Qualitative means no numbers. Qualitative is talking about theory, perceptions, words, not looking at number data, okay? What we're going to do is that's all pretty based on our perceptions of the situation. And this usually comes as our personal risk. Be like, oh no, I'm just not comfortable with that. So a lot of times qualitative risk assessment it's definitely not going to match quantitative because there's going to be a human component in here that is related to emotion and fear and things like that. Quantitative risk assessment uses real data. Yeah, numbers. And quantitative risk assessment is to calculate it. We say risk equals the probability of being exposed times the probability of being harmed if you're exposed. Welcome to math class, guys. We're done. It's okay. No, we'll practice that a little bit. And risk acceptance determines how much that risk can be tolerated. So remember when we looked back, boom, 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 here, we talked about what do you think is, okay, I'm cool with that. All right, that's the risk assessment. Oh, I went too far. The risk acceptance, I'm sorry. And, I'm going to be honest. I'm not a risky person. I'm not. I don't gamble. I'm pretty boring. I'm one of these that my risk acceptance, it's not very high. It's really not. But other people, they're like, whatever. I'm going to go jump out of that plane 8 times. One time I'm not going to do it without a parachute. I'm just kidding. But you see what I'm saying. So this risk acceptance can vary person to person, but it can also vary culture to culture, continent, government to government. So there's a lot of things in here, variables that can really alter what the risk acceptance may be. We do usually try to get input and data from scientists, economists, things like that, legal specialists, things like that, to try to help us objectively look at this information to get good estimates to say, hey, is it worth risking this for X benefit? Worldwide standards of risk can be guided by two different philosophies. Absolutely. So you're like, hey, we don't need DDT. Let's do away with it. Well, there's two ways of kind of looking at this that may have been guided. So some people may say, hey, no, innocent until proven guilty people, meaning that, you know what? I don't know really if it's that dangerous, but I need to see the data first. Like, I need to see the hard data. That's innocent until proven guilty, which makes sense, right? Like, a lot of people are like, yeah, no. I'm not going to get the COVID shot until I see the data that it works and that it's safe. And then you also have the precautionary principle. Precautionary principle is that, you know what? I'm just going to be safe. I'm just going to get it. You know, I'd rather be safe than sorry. I'm not comfortable with that risk. I'm just going to go get the shot. Or I don't want my, any animals in my yard to be exposed to chemicals. I'm not going to use pesticides at all. So the precautionary principle is one that, like, I'm going to take that preemptive precautionary move and say no. So here are two different kind of looks at this. So if you look at the innocent until proven guilty principle, so here you take a look at like limited market testing, post-market testing, regulations and bans on the unsafe products. So what they do is they test two different ones. And then here, like, oh, well, that one, well, we shouldn't use that one. That one's not really the best. That one's kind of dangerous. And they take it off the market. And then they will sell the safe one. Precautionary is a lot of times it's usually done through like government legislation. Precautionary principle tends to be more of a company and production-based principle, where company may be like, we made this one, we made this one, we made this sunblock, and we made sunblock B. All right, and then we're going to test them. And then, but you know what? We don't think sunblock B is up to our standards, so we're going to take it off the market. We're only going to sell the first sunblock because we know that it's safe. So that's kind of another way of looking at it. All right, international agreements on hazardous chemicals. All right, so we have the Stockholm Convention. This occurred about 20 years ago now. And when this happened, a lot of different nations came around and said, look, there's these big time chemicals. We do not need to have them. They just need to be done out. Bye-bye. All right. And then we also have REACH. REACH, excuse me. It's an acronym for registration, evaluation, authorization, and restriction of chemicals. And basically what it does, it's really focused in the EU, the European Union, which England's not a part of anymore. And what it does is it helps to better regulate those chemicals. And I will be honest, a lot of the chemicals that they regulate their regulations are much stricter than a lot of them that we have here, especially when it comes to things like food additives. They are very strict on things like artificial food dyes, flavorings, additives, preservatives, and all those kinds of things. They don't use very many of them like we do. All right. All right, so hold on. I want to go back here. I want to talk about, does it talk about it? No, it doesn't. So I want to go back here to the Stockholm Convention. So we talked about what are these 12 chemicals. So these 12 chemicals, they're also called the dirty dozen. You may have heard that term. And so the dirty dozen, there's 12 big ones. DDT is definitely one of them. That's probably the biggest one. There's a lot of different like industrial cleaners that are part of this, and like ones that are used in manufacturing processes that are obviously not used anymore. They all had really intense possible effects, whether they were teratogens or endocrine disruptors, all that kind of stuff. Now, as of now, they have at least 30 chemicals that are on this list. All right, that's it. Go eat some organic, non-GMO foods. No, I'm just kidding. Or if you're high risk, go live that high risk life, yo. Yeah.